Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of The Take. I'm your host, Jackson Burleson, of course. And in today's episode, we got a special guest in the house, my brother, Auburn Burleson, who plays for the New Hampshire Mountain Kings up in New Hampshire in the NA3HL, and also former state champion, by the way. Just want to flex out here for the bro. But I appreciate you hopping on.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Let's talk some hockey. Let's talk some hockey real quick. So last night, Team USA, they played Sweden. They didn't play most of their important guys. Austin Matthews sat. Matthew Tkachuk sat. In the game, the U.S. had a couple injuries. Brady Tkachuk got injured in the first period. He did come back later in the game. He had a lower body injury. And then, Charlie McAvoy got hurt last night, and he's not playing in the game Thursday against Canada. And Quinn Hughes will replace him, who plays for the Canucks. So I'm just curious, with Charlie McAvoy out and Quinn Hughes replacing him, how does that affect this U.S. team going into the finals against Canada?
I think it takes a little bit of the physicality out because McAvoy brought a lot of physical aspects to the game, but then you're trading that off for Hughes, who is really quick, really fast, produces a lot of offense. So I mean, you're kind of trading one thing for another, which I don't think it's bad. But I don't think it's good or bad. I think it's just kind of a neutral thing. I think he's more effective at stopping a lot of the speed that Canada has, probably because he's a little faster than McAvoy. So I think he's better in that department. So I think it'll be good for him.
And what do you think about the U.S. resting their star players last night against Sweden?
I think that's a smart idea. I mean, you kind of saw how Matt, or was it Brady Chuck, kind of went in funny on the net and kind of got banged up a little in a game that doesn't really matter. You're already in the championship. You don't really need to beat Sweden at all. So I mean, I agree with it that they should sit those higher end players.
Right.
You don't need to play them.
No. And yeah, I agree. There's no point. Everyone wants the rematch,
Yeah.
which Thursday night we're getting it. Finally,
Mm-hmm.
have you seen these ticket prices, dude? I mean, for USA Canada, that's nuts. I know you were talking about going, but $900 for nosebleeds, I don't think you're going to that, dude.
It's too deep for my wallet. It's too deep for my wallet.
And I also heard people saying, like it's going to be dangerous for Canadians at that game. Is that true?
Yeah, Boston fans are sometimes something else. It's kind of just like a toss up. They're not going to be liked, but I don't know if I'd say dangerous. I just don't think they'll have as good of a time as they would have in Montreal.
Because I kept hearing like people were saying like, oh, like Canadians aren't safe, in Boston or whatever for this game. And I'm just like, well, I don't know. Like, how do you think when the Canadians do come out onto the ice and you got all the American fans there, what do you think the reaction is going to be? Just right out of the gate.
I think they're gonna immediately get booed out of the stadium. I think it's gonna be an atmosphere like no other.
Do you think? I think this is the question I've been wondering. Do you think the Americans boo the Canadian national anthem this time around? Does that happen?
I don't think so. I don't think they will.
I mean, maybe get some revenge.
I don't think you should, because I mean, the old saying, two wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah.
So I think you just kind of show respect to their country and then just show them that you're better by beating them.
Right. Yeah, I don't. And there's probably not going to be many Canadian fans there, even if they can even get in the game. I don't think they would let them. But why is it that this whole Canadian fan base was booing the national anthem, and that whole last game between the two teams, just the intensity just raised up more than anybody would have possibly imagined?
I don't know. I just think it's something about playing for your country. It's just something else. Like it's just like a different level of pride when you put on the American flag and you know you're playing for your country and everyone's kind of rooting for you at home. I think that kind of brings out a lot of different kind of emotions for fans and for players as well. But I don't know. I I I, I think the game on Thursday will be good, and it's America and Canada's kind of been back and forth for the past 10 years, like in these kind of tournaments. So it'll be fun to see who kind of comes out on top.
What do you think the most exciting part of this rivalry has been in the last 10 years?
I honestly think it was Saturday night.
Yeah.
I think that was the most entertaining start of a hockey game I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think you could top it.
Three fights in 9 seconds. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a international record for that.
Hmm.
And the first time it was 20 seconds. And funny enough, it was Keith Chuck. Now you got Matthew and Brady Chuck, his two sons over there. So
Hmm.
with those two, with the Tkachuk name just carrying this USA team, and I feel like it's like the soul. They're like the souls of this roster. It feels like. How important is it for them? I know fighting's a part of the game, but how important was it for them to just come out and just say, "Hey, look, we're here."
It's just I think it really just let the Canadians know like the tone of the game, how it was gonna go, and like I think the Canadians are honestly pretty startled by it. They look really scared and cautious for the whole first period. No one on their team was really throwing anybody around. No one was really taking any chances on plays, taking hits. So I think it kind of scared them and kind of shied them away for a lot of the game, which hurt them in the end. I think it's a big deal to kind of come out like that in a rivalry game and kind of just set the tone early that you're not really here to mess around.
Do you think the Canadians will be scared going into this game, or do you think they'll try to come back to life a little bit?
I mean, I think both teams will be scared, like everyone has nerves and everyone's nervous about a big game like this, like especially with the amount of physicality. Like everyone's scared that they're going to get hurt or scared of that. It's just whether or not that dictates what you do on the ice. And I think Canada is going to play. I think they're going to try to play hard, but I think they're going to be met with someone that plays harder. There's really not really anything you can do about it.
And did you see the social media reactions to the Chuck fights that people were saying, "Dude woke up and chose violence."
Hmm.
Like, I mean, how do
I saw
you?
a to Chuck 20 like for president kind of thing going around.
Dude, let's go, dude.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. We'd be running it, even though we're not gonna get into that. But also, I saw Mike Sullivan, the USA head coach. He said also it's an indication of what this game means to the players. So like you
Mm-hmm.
talked about what it means to represent your country and things like that. Like as a player, there's so many emotions. How do you just keep yourself composed with all these emotions just flying through your head?
I mean, I think just at the start of the game, like exactly how they started it is kind of just the way you kind of get into the game. Like you fight someone, you get punched a few times, you punch someone, and all the nervousness of like worrying about, what are the fans going to think of me or all the worriness of that kind of just goes out of the way. Like you kind of forget about it and it just sits in the back of your mind once you're kind of in the game, I think. And I think it's a great way to start out a game because then everybody's nervous little your top guys that just fought, all their nervousness is gone by the first 10 seconds. They're not worried about anything anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the nervousness part, I could totally see that, but like the anger part, like you're just, I feel like if you're gonna keep fighting, if you're gonna fight like that, it's gonna continue to go the whole game. Like I don't know. I feel like as a coach, I might be a little bit upset. Like, hey, like let's just play hockey here. Like, why are we dropping our
It
gloves?
is
Like, right?
hockey.
I mean, but like, would you if you were a coach, would you rather say, hey, let's fight, or hey, let's try to score a goal?
It depends on the situation. If it's a game like that, like the rivals, these both of the teams know each other very well because they play regular season with each other. So I mean, in a big game like that where you kind of have to be physical to win to beat all these skilled players, like yeah, I think that's a great way to start. I think that's a good decision for a coach. I think Canada looked at it the other way and we're just going to score more than them because we have more skill. That doesn't really work if you just beat the crap out of them.
Yeah, yeah, and they did. I mean, I think, in my opinion, when Sidney Crosby was behind the goal. Okay, and you're a Penguins fan, so like
He's one of my favorite players.
so I'm surprised. I'm surprised hearing from you. You weren't as sympathetic for him when it came to him getting cross-checked in the head when he was on the ground.
He's
That's your favorite.
Canadian.
That's your
He's not
favorite player.
American. He's not American.
What? He's your favorite player. He's on your favorite team, Pittsburgh Penguins. You're not going to be like, hey, like that was a dirty hit. Like even if you're representing America and you are watching them.
Nah, it's America all the way.
I mean, but like you can't admit as an unbiased fan that that was a dirty
I don't think it
hit.
was dirty at all. That's hockey.
So you're okay
That's how
with,
hockey's played.
but you're okay with being on the ground, getting hit in the head with a stick while you're defenseless essentially, and you're not standing up.
He got cross checked one time. He gave him one after. It is what it is.
But that's your star player. I mean, if that
I think
happened,
it's I think it's I think it's embarrassing that not one Canadian player did anything about it. I think that's truly embarrassing. I don't think it was that dirty. Do I think that someone should have fought for him? Yeah, he's 30, almost 37. He just came off an injury
yeah.
and now he's getting beat up. I think someone on your team, I don't think that's a situation where the refs set the tone. I think that's a situation where you kind of have to let the players and the teams decide, what's going to fly. And Canadians, I guess, said that's okay for America to do. And it showed the rest of the game because Americans were running around just running into everybody.
just going like is that ever have you ever had a coach tell you like hey like obviously you're gonna hit but like is fighting ever a part of the game plan?
Not really at my level. I mean, the big part of our game plan this weekend against the team we play, which is very skilled, is just beat them down. We play them 3 times in a weekend. We just 3 times in 3 days. Like you just gotta when a team is just more skilled than you, like Canada is more skilled than America, you kind of just have to use your physicality because a lot of those guys don't want to embrace it. So you kind of have to just it kind of makes the game. It can either win or lose you the game. You can either be too physical and too dirty and get a bunch of penalties, or there's a happy medium of being clean and dirty at the same time, and it's still just being hockey.
Okay. Like what would be like a so the Crosby thing you're saying that it's worse that none of his teammates backed him up instead of him being on the ground getting hit. You need to see
Yeah,
your team like so with that being said, we talked about Canada playing scared in this game. How can they change their identity when it comes to what happened last time?
I think it's really hard with the kind of guys they have on their team. They don't have a lot of guys that are big and physical, and that's their kind of game. They have a lot of guys that you know are skilled people. Like they know how to shoot the puck, they know how to pass the puck. They don't hit a lot, and I think that kind of when building these rosters, you kind of have to look into that. You can't just take your top guys, your best goal scorers. You have to build a team. In hockey, you have to have a lot of different people with a lot of different skill sets, kind of all working at the same time.
And I also wanted to ask you, and that's actually a great point. Like when it comes to building a roster and things like that, because that's important in the NHL as well. I mean, you need to have your goal scorers, you need to have your
Yeah.
McDavids, you need to have your Crosbys, you need to have your Austin Matthews, but you also got to have that enforcer, somebody who's going to be able to back you up and
Yeah.
help you when you are not necessarily you're a pretty boy essentially. There are
Yeah.
pretty boys in hockey, even though it's a very physical sport. I mean, it's basically football on ice for crying out loud.
Yeah.
It's actually absurd. I think it's also just absolute. I can't like when those three fights happen. You know what my initial reaction was? I wasn't like, oh my god, this is awesome. I was laughing. Like I think it's so funny that grown men are punching each other in the face on skates because they can barely stand up.
Yeah.
like, like, how hard is it to actually punch someone in the face on ice skates?
Pretty easy.
What?
Not that hard. Like you mean you know how to if you know how to skate, like it's
Well,
not
I
that.
don't.
Well, yeah, obviously for you, but
For an average human being, that is not
yeah,
a normal
that'd be
skill.
very hard. Yeah.
That is not a normal skill. Like, is there like, how do you practice? Because you obviously weren't good at it at first. So, like, how do you practice being good at it?
You just kind of like I've had a couple fights in practice with teammates. Like practice gets out of hand sometimes. People get frustrated and punches get thrown, and that's it. I fought my best friend once, and
Best
you're
friend.
completely fine 2 seconds later. You just kind of you kind of it's just letting people know where your line is. Don't cross that. They know that now, and then it's kind of done, and you're just kind of buddies. It's kind of just how hockey works. It's a very unique sport in that sense, and I love it for it because it's just an older style. It's not soft.
No, definitely not. Especially if you can punch. Like, there's no like even in football you can't punch. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the closest thing I've ever seen to that was like it was a couple years ago. I don't know if you remember this, but it
A
was when Miles
football
Garrett
helmet.
picked up that. Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
he swung the helmet at Mason Rudolph. I was like, dude, that is the craziest thing ever. Which I've actually never seen in hockey someone like pick up a skate. Like that's a lot of work. Like that's probably the most violent thing you could possibly do. Like or kicking. If someone started implementing kicking into fighting in hockey, that could be dangerous.
No, you can't kick. You just get pushed over.
Yeah, because you'd lose your balance on your own ice. So yeah,
Yeah.
I guess
And
I
there's
didn't really
rules
think
to
that one
fighting.
through.
There's rules to having a clean fight.
Just a clean fight. I saw the guys on the U.S. throwing uppercuts, man. I mean
Yeah, that's clean.
there were
That's
some
clean.
nasty uppercuts. I was impressed. That's why I was laughing because like they're just
That's all in the
grabbing their
rule book.
shirts.
It's all in the rule book.
It's absolutely insane. And the Four Nations tournament, in my opinion, has been an absolute success. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you this question. So I know the NHL they got their All Star game, but should the NHL consider moving the Four Nations to every year during this time, each season?
Yeah, I want to say yes because it's great hockey, but then again, it's really hard for the top guys to do this kind of style of tournament with this kind of heavy play in the middle of the season every year and want to do it every year without being scared of being injured for the rest of the season or something like that. So I mean, I would love to see it, and if the players think they can do it, by all means, do it every year. I'd rather watch this than the All Star Skills competition any day. But I hope they do it every year because it's really entertaining. But
Right. Yeah.
it'd be hard to keep up as one of those top guys that's always there every year.
I'm for it. I would totally do it, but like you're saying, like how do you? I don't know how NHL franchises and owners would feel about that. Like, hey, like I kind of need my guy here for 82 games and plus the playoffs,
Yeah,
so I need him to rest a little bit. But like the fact that they implement it in the first place, I mean, it's kind of a sign that they want to move towards that more.
I think it attracts a lot more people to the sport.
Yeah, it does. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. 5.2 million American viewers at the
Hmm.
peak. That was the peak viewership for USA versus Canada. And I got a crazy stat. It's also a 369% bounce from NHL on ABC's average viewership this season.
Yeah.
And it's also 2 million, roughly 2 million viewers less than game 7 of the Stanley Cup last year. So, like, obviously,
Hmm.
people care. Obviously, people want to watch. For crying out loud, everyone knows that is on this podcast watching this. I am not a hockey guy. I'm just putting it out there as simple as it is. But I enjoy watching hockey, and it's frustrating because the NBA is so bad that hockey's so good. It's like, well, which product is better here, and that's kind of where I'm sitting at right now
Yeah.
as just a sports fan,
Hmm.
and that's where I kind of stand on that. I mean, because the NBA All Star Game, it sucks. They were
Yeah.
playing to 40 points. Okay, like it was absolutely ridiculous. They were doing a 4-team tournament, and one team was a Rising Stars team that wasn't even an All Star team.
Yeah.
Like the NHL would never do that. I mean, imagine the NHL doing that nonsense. You
Yeah.
wouldn't.
It's
You would. No
dumb.
one would watch. No
No.
one would watch.
Yeah. The only thing I have to say is kind of annoying about the Four Nations thing is like some of the top guys can't play because like countries like Russia or they're from a different country out of these top four, and you don't really get to see them play, you know. But I think it's still better than an All Star game for sure.
What about adding more countries? Like instead of 4 nations, what if you made it like 6 or 8? Instead of
I
having
feel like
group play.
that would be kind of hard to mix that into the same time slot as an All Star like game, pretty much. You know what I mean? I think it would take too long, and then they would have to drag the season out more, like a lot longer.
Well, what if you did? Because it's roughly about a week and a day. So what if you just had, let's say Wednesday, you've got 2 games. Thursday, you've got 2 games. Because you've got 8 teams total, and you just have a tournament, and you just have 2 games a day, and then it's a 1 game elimination. You don't get a warm up round. You don't get a group play. None of that. I feel like that could be a good idea since if you want to get all these other players involved. I think that could be a good format. It's having an eight team tournament, single
Yeah,
elimination.
but some of the countries that some of the guys are on, it's hard to find that many, you know, like top NHL players. Like there's not some of these countries. It's not there's not a lot of people that are from there that play in the NHL. So it's kind of hard to do that. I think they just picked the four most popular countries and just went with that, and I think it's still great.
But having more would be, I think it would bring just even more eyes, and you're
No,
getting the
yeah.
country and think other countries involved. But I mean,
Hmm.
I'm happy with it because I mean, no one watches the NHL All Star Game. I mean, I don't. I mean, I was at the NFL Pro Bowl, and they're playing flag football out here. I mean,
Hmm.
they're not even wearing pads. So like every
Yeah,
single sports All Star game is just atrocious. I mean, it's just
yeah.
very bad, and they need to.
Hmm.
And there's no, and I feel like there's no way to really fix it because if you have people playing at full speed, then owners are going to be complaining. Well, why is he actually trying? And then if you don't have a physical game, then people are going to be like, well, what's the point of having an All Star game? I think people just need to be grateful that we're seeing some of the greatest players in the games playing. That I think there's so much complaining. You can't please everybody.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of agree with it.
I don't even know where you start. I mean, the NHL is doing a great job of doing this, but like you said, like if you do this every year, it's not going to be like a game 7. It's going to be like a burden to these guys. Like man, I got to play in this. Like
Hmm.
there's got to be some kind of incentive, I guess. Like it's just I don't think it's ruining the game per se. It's not really the same thing as like the NBA's end season tournament. This is kind of just a break. But like imagine like the NBA doing the same thing with the All-Star game except having okay, let's do USA, let's do Australia, let's do all these other countries in like a similar format that Four Nations is. Maybe that could work, but maybe they wouldn't try. But if it's the country, like you said, playing for your country is important and you have to somewhat care.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a hard thing to do.
I don't know. I'm just trying to throw some ideas out because the NBA, quite frankly, needs them. And I know you don't watch basketball, but I do watch basketball, and it's a tough watch. It's a tough watch. I mean, the NBA All Star game was on, and I'm like, when's the next hockey game on? I mean, I've never asked that question in my life. When's the next
Yeah.
hockey game? When's the next hockey game? And I want to before I get you out here, I want to get your official pick for the championship game Thursday in TD Garden. Who are you going with?
USA.
USA?
Yeah.
Okay.
What did you think it would be, Canada?
Well, I don't
Just
know.
stupid
I don't know.
question.
Maybe you tend to change your mind sometimes. So I didn't. I mean, I know you're going to be rooting for USA, but no chance. No chance. Canada, the Canadians pull it
Nope.
out.
Not a one.
What about if McDavid shows up? He's my favorite player, by the way. If no one knows.
He showed up the first game and they still lost.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll go USA as well because I mean the flags in the back. I mean I'd be an absolute disgrace as an American if I go in here and pick the Canadians with my American flag in the back. I cannot do that.
Yeah.
Cannot do that. But man, I appreciate you hopping on once again to talk about this awesome Four Nations tournament. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. This is my brother Auburn Burleson, New Hampshire Mountain Kings forward/center, and you're clinched the playoffs. When does the playoffs start for you guys?
Here in 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
4 more weeks of
No
games.
official matchup as of yet.
Not right now. It's pretty much confirmed, but there's still like some things that could change, but not likely.
Have you guys won 10 in a row? Is it 10 in a row or 9 in a row?
9.
9 in
9.
a row. 9 in a row.
Yeah.
Whew. Oh, a little heater there.
Hmm.
Well, man, I appreciate you hopping on once again. We'll have to do it again. I'm trying to bring him around for hockey because, as you see, he loves his hockey. He loves fighting. Apparently, he's fighting in practice. I kind of knew about that, but how regular is that? How regular?
I've I've only fought once, but we had a fight today in practice.
What's wrong with you,
It's
dude? I'm surprised you're not
not
coming up in the
super
pod with a black
uncommon.
eye, dude. When's that day gonna come?
I'd say someone on our team probably fights once a month in practice.
I heard somebody lost. What was it their front two teeth? You were telling me a story. They lost their front two
Yeah, they
teeth in
chipped their
practice.
front 2 teeth. Yeah,
Was it got pushed into a pole? Is that what it was?
yeah, into the boards.
Oh, ouch.
Hmm.
And this guy told me I'm bringing up some stories because I think they're funny. You almost lost your finger. Is that right?
No,
You said you almost did. Is somebody ran over your foot with a skate?
someone stepped on my foot with a skate, and it hurt like it hurt a lot. We'll just say that.
No. So what were you thinking when you were about to take that glove off? Like what were you about to do? Like what was
I
going through your
honestly
head?
didn't even notice it until like 3 minutes after it happened. I was on the ice playing, and I was like, "Yeah, my finger kind of hurts, but like, I gotta keep doing the drill. Like, we're still going." And then I look down at my hand, and the glove's just red, and I'm like, "All right, we gotta check what this is."
Yeah, that's the alert. So nothing hurt, nothing.
I mean, you're kind of like in the motion of it, and like your heart's up and everything. You don't really notice.
That's insane, dude. Yeah, no, this is why I don't play hockey because I don't want to get rammed into the boards. I don't want to get my fingers ran over. I'm good. I'm good
Yeah,
on that. But I love watching it, though. I'll say I love watching it. We're gonna continue to watch it. But
yeah,
too bad you can't go to that game because these tickets are absolutely ridiculous.
yeah,
I actually am stunned how expensive they are. I think on the glass is $5,000.
yeah. Something like that.
That's nuts. That's nuts. But I mean, you got the best players in the world, so you know you got to pay top dollar for it. But let's go ahead and get him out of here. Auburn Burleson, go ahead and check him out. New Hampshire Mountain Kings. They're gonna be playing soon in the playoffs in about a month. So this is gonna go ahead and do it, everybody, for today's episode of The Take. I'm Jackson Burleson. Make sure to hit the like button. Also, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment what you guys think about this Four Nations tournament. It's been absolutely spectacular, and I'm very excited to watch it. And let me know who you guys got. Hopefully, we got some USA chants in here. So I appreciate you guys for tuning into this episode. I'm your host, Jackson Burleson, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Talk to me, baby. Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me nice. I'm from another world, baby, yeah. Broadway paradise. They think I'm way too cold, cause I put my